When something happens in the news, something about politics, you might have noticed how we set up an interview, set up a story to talk about it on this show. We have a little graphic that you can see over my shoulder that says something about the story. In this case, it's "What do mommies and daddies say?" which is a quote from the person we're about to be discussing. Then I do a little monologue intro explaining the story, trying to make the salient points, point out the importance of the story, make the salient points stand out. We base these little intros on news reports about the story, any primary source material we've been able to turn up about it, comments sometimes from the participants involved, and often a little bit of my own analysis. That's sort of our formula. That's how these segments usually work. But today, for this story, for "What do mommies and daddies say?" there is nothing that I can add. There is no way I can make this better or more understandable than just to straight up read you the lead from the Associated Press today. This is totally unembellished, unedited. This is it. The chairman of the House Armed Services Committee said yesterday that he thought the military should keep its ban on openly gay service members, in part because he did not want to open a national discussion about homosexuality. I'm not kidding. I'm not embellishing. This is seriously the story. Okay, the AP continues. The chairman, Congressman Ike Skelton, a conservative Missouri Democrat, said he thought the debate in Congress over the proposed repeal of the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy might force families to explain homosexuality to their children. Quoting Ike Skelton, quote, "What do mommies and daddies say to their 7-year-old child?" Mr. Skelton asked. That's it. That's not me cobbling that together from various sources, trying to make the most dumbfounding point possible out of this story. That is actually what he said. The reason we're not repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell straightforwardly, the reason the Democrats can't pass a straight-up repeal measure through the House of Representatives that they dominate, is because the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Ike Skelton, is quite literally afraid to talk about the fact that gay people exist. He doesn't want there to be a debate about anything gay at all, because then people might know and have to discuss the fact that gay people exist, and he finds that awkward. He would rather that we could please just avoid the whole issue of the gay, not just gays in the military, but the gay. He doesn't want the poor families to have to see the word gay in the newspaper because it makes him feel weird. Congressman Skelton admits that none of his constituents have expressed these same fears to him. Nobody's asking him to please don't act to repeal Don't Ask, Don't Tell, because that might keep mentions of the gay out of Missouri newspapers. He admits that it's not coming from his constituents, it's just him. He just feels icky about the whole idea of the gay, and he doesn't want to hear it discussed. So 14,000 Americans have to be fired from their jobs in the military because Congressman Ike Skelton is ooged out by the word gay. Also, cooties. Joining us now to discuss this brazen outbreak of leadership from the full-grown adult man who is the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee is Congressman Joe Sestak, who is the Democratic nominee for Senate in Pennsylvania. He serves on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman Sestak, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I appreciate your time.
It's always a pleasure being on with you. Thanks.
I did not expect to see this from Congressman Skelton. I have heard a lot of arguments against repealing Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I have never before heard that it shouldn't be repealed because it's too embarrassing a subject to discuss. I know that you know Congressman Skelton. Can I get your take on this?
Well, first on Congressman Skelton, Rachel, he really is a very kind man. He's been a very good, as far as the professional side of the armed services, a mentor of mine. But I've been shaped by my experience in the military. And in a number of ways, I really do strongly disagree with Ike Skelton on this issue. First, I've learned that everyone is treated equal, and everybody is equal. Black, white, purple, green, whatever your orientation is, they are all equal. Second is, I think we need to leave it to families to discuss how they want to have an exchange with their children. But what I learned about families in the military was that it's the military's responsibility to protect, to save families by what we do. And the best way we can do it is to have the best of the best. This isn't just a matter of equality, as important as that is, to have the LGBT community within the military. It's a matter of being able to do our job even better, particularly at a time of 2 wars. I'll never forget, and I may have mentioned it to you, that when someone would come up to me and start to say, "Captain, you just wanted to say, but you couldn't. Please don't tell me. You're too good. So this issue for the military is we are going to be better once Don't Ask, Don't Tell is finally thrown out. But I honestly do believe also on the issue that you brought up, if there should be an exchange about equality on this within a family, at least within mine, I do think that is the right thing to do, is to have such discussions.
Are you satisfied with the repeal process for the Don't Ask, Don't policy as it stands now? Do you think that repeal, which seems to be on track for sometime early next year, do you think it could be done more quickly?
Without a question. I asked Secretary Gates that. I was in a military that could turn on a dime and could go to war in Afghanistan within just a few short months and can do so much. We can actually have an interagency process that includes the Defense Department after the underwear bomber all of a sudden change its procedures. We've gone through matters of equality before, from African Americans to women in combat positions. We can readily take those lessons learned and within, I believe, a few short 2 months, implement this. And this is particularly important because Admiral Mullen said it very well. You are asking people to lie. And this is an institution that prides itself on its integrity, its accountability. And soon, you're going to have the leaders being behind those that they're supposed to lead. Those 5,000 youth on an aircraft carrier, their average age, those 5,000 sailors, 19 and a half. 19 and a half. And this is not an issue for them. They grew up different than others in generations. And again, I come from the military, and yes, there's disagreement on this, I understand it, but the vast exposure I had is this is not an issue, and we need to be leaders and implement it, and I wish we were doing it in the next weeks or months, and I believe we can.
Congressman Joe Sestak, retired as an admiral in the Navy, Democratic nominee for Senate in Pennsylvania. Mr. Sestak, thank you as always for being here. It's always nice to have you on the show.
It's always great to be here. Thank you. Have a great evening.